You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio. Salam Radio. 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum. You are tuning into Her Chronicles. I'm your host, Maleeha Iqbal, and for the next hour, I will be speaking to the Chief Executive Officer of Women's Aid, Amanda. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So we will be discussing the Dahlia project. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. So could you give us a bit of a backstory behind the Dahlia project and explain kind of why it exists?
Absolutely. So in 2021, the census in Peterborough said that there was about 14% of the population was South Asian. But then when we looked at victims of domestic abuse that were coming forward for support, it was only 5%. So I went to a lecture at Anglia Ruskin University, a lady called Dr. Myrna Guha, and she had done some research into a South Asian woman's experience of reporting domestic abuse and then going through the criminal justice system and kind of the whole journey. So she interviewed 15 women and she looked at 530 police records, and these women were from Pakistan, they were Bangladeshi women or Indian women. And what the research showed was that Peterborough had the highest record in all categories of abuse. So, for example, 87 offences of stalking and harassment, 61 of those were in Peterborough. 60 incidents of violence with injury, 42 were in Peterborough. So it was really showing across Cambridgeshire there was a huge need for South Asian women to get support. And the feedback that she received from women who had been through this criminal justice journey was that they found organisations unhelpful, unaware and quite judgmental. So I spent some time with Dr. Guha and we kind of discussed, things need to change. There weren't any specialist services out there for South Asian women. All of the services in Cambridgeshire, things like the staff all spoke English, which was an immediate barrier for women to access support. So there was a fund that became available from the Home Office. So I worked with Dr. Guha and we put an application together to start the Dahlia project. And we were successful and here we are.
That's amazing. So, those statistics are quite shocking and worrying. And I know especially for me as a South Asian woman, I don't really feel like there's a lot of organisations maybe that kind of cater our needs or situations we go through, especially with domestic violence, because in the community there is a bit of a stigma if you talk openly about it or seek professional help. So what does the Dahlia project, what's kind of like the support systems put in place to actually help South Asian women?
Yeah, so the first thing we wanted from the Dahlia project was that it was a project run by members of the South Asian community. So I'm very conscious as the CEO at Peterborough Women's Aid, I'm white British, I don't have lived experience. So the project is led by a steering group, and the steering group is overseen by one of our trustees, Dr. Darshana Schreider, and then it's made up of community members and staff from the South Asian community. And we felt that that was key, because what we want to do is to understand and to be able to quickly respond to things that are going on in Peterborough. So we have 3 members of staff, all from the South Asian community. They speak Urdu and Punjabi, and we offer varying support. So if a woman was to phone us or get in contact with us and say that she was in an abusive relationship, we're really conscious that we are led by her, because we know that when victims are in an abusive relationship, a lot of the time they're being told what to do by the perpetrator. You must do this, you must do that. And the way that women keep themselves safe is that they have their own safety plan. So what we're really aware is that we follow the needs of that individual. So if she's saying to us, I don't feel safe at home, for example, I'm being physically abused, then we would create a safety plan with her. Things like, have you got a mobile phone that you can get to? Have you got a room in the house where you can easily lock the door? Do you have all the relevant numbers you could call in an emergency? What we are finding with the project is that there are a lot of Muslim women who don't want to leave that abusive relationship for various reasons. And that's fine, because we know culturally, maybe religiously, there might be beliefs around leaving a marriage. And so we work with South Asian women in a way to keep them safe if they stay in that relationship. But we also offer other services. So we offer advocacy with housing. We can support women if they're going through the court process. We can support women with kind of childcare arrangements and things like that. We also support women who have no recourse to public funds. So I'm sure listeners will know what that means, but it basically means that if a woman comes to the UK, for example, on a spousal visa, and she is in an abusive relationship, and she leaves that relationship, she is not entitled to any public funding. So, for example, universal credit. And that can be a really big barrier as to why women don't leave, because they have nothing. They have no money, they can't get any housing, like I say, they can't get any benefits. But what is so different about this project is that we will support these women. So if they leave and they have nothing, we can support them with accommodation, we can support them financially. So that kind of sets us apart from any other project in the UK, being able to support women that don't have public funding.
That's amazing to hear. How can someone get in contact with Women's Aid?
So loads of ways. I always say to people, go to our website, which is www.peterboroughwomensaid.co.uk, and then we have a range of ways. So we understand that some women won't want to give any details about themselves to begin with when they make that initial call. So we have an anonymous web chat. People can also email us, or they can phone us, and we also have an office where we run groups, like a community centre, a women's centre in Peterborough. So we have a lot of women there that want to come in and just get support from peers rather than our professional support. They want to come in and maybe they feel isolated, they can just come to one of our groups.
Great to hear. I think also, do you guys kind of also have something set in place where you're educating South Asian women about what does it mean to be in a domestic, like to be abused in a relationship, and what signs to look out for?
Yeah, we do that with most of our clients, because there is still, unfortunately, a huge assumption that domestic abuse is having a black eye or being pushed down the stairs. And yes, that is still the case, but there are so many different forms of abuse. So we have financial abuse, where women can't access any finances, so don't have access to money at all, and are sometimes given out a shopping list to go with the exact amount of money, and then if they overspend, there's a consequence to that. We obviously have sexual abuse, goes on in relationships, and there is still a belief around in some communities that you can't be raped in marriage. Well, actually legally you can. Yeah. And then we have, which is probably most prevalent and always in an abusive relationship, is coercive control. And this is when a woman can be threatened, intimidated, and really is in fear all of the time whilst they're in that relationship. An example of coercive control that we worked with not long ago was a woman wasn't allowed out of the house, so her husband went to work, and he would put post-its around the house with jobs for her to do. She never knew how many post-its were in the house, so she spent her entire days searching for these post-its, because if she didn't complete all the tasks, there would be a consequence for her. Now, in terms of that is such controlling behaviour, but in terms of getting a criminal conviction for that is really, really tricky. How do you evidence there's a crime there?
Yeah.
But the fact that she was so scared, and that's all she did for 8 hours was search the house for these post-it notes, because she knew if she didn't complete everything, there would be a consequence when he got home.
That's, wow. That's such a manipulative mind game right there, isn't it? You don't really feel like, oh, that's illegal. Well, that's not really domestic abuse, is it? Because it's, it's mental abuse. So what kind of is the difference between being mentally abused and physically abused?
So I think if you're being physically abused, you're also being mentally abused. So that is going to make a huge impact on your mental health. We know that perpetrators of domestic abuse are very clever. And we also know that perpetrators of domestic abuse will target vulnerable women. So we see at Peterborough Women's Aid the same perpetrator coming through who have targeted different women. And they get skilled at that. So they know that actually if I hit her, for example, there's going to be a bruise and I will probably be arrested. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this mental torture, and that's how I'm going to control her. So things like mental abuse, things like if you leave, I will kill the children. If you leave, I will kill myself. You'll be disowned by the community. You will never be able to go back to, for example, Pakistan, because they will know that you've left this relationship. Yeah. So mental abuse can be so damaging and so traumatizing because you never know what's around the corner. You never know what he potentially might do next. And then you come back to, how do you evidence it? If you've got a black eye, you can walk into a police station. If you're going through mental torture, that can be so damaging for the individual, but anyone that lives in that household as well.
Yeah. Emotional blackmail is a huge issue within our community that we don't really speak about much because of just how traumatic it can be. But what kind of strategies does the Dahlia Project use to reduce the stigma surrounding domestic abuse? So
we're really excited that we've got some workshops coming up in June that we will be facilitating with women from the South Asian community. And these workshops will look at what it's like to be a Muslim woman in the UK, and all the messages that maybe you are told you have to live by. The Quran says this, the Quran says that, but actually a lot of the Quran is open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So these workshops will be about educating Muslim women that might have just come into the UK or have been here for quite some time, and they're hearing messages from their family. You're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to divorce, you're not allowed to go out, all of this stuff. What we want to do is to be able to say to Muslim women, the Quran doesn't say that. This is something that maybe is a belief in your family, but in terms of you religiously and the religion that you belong to and you love so much, if you were to leave that relationship, you are not breaking that religion. Yeah. So it's about education, but I'm talking a lot about women, but it's also about us getting out there, like for today, for example, and saying to men that this behaviour isn't tolerated. Women will begin to have voices. Our project is out there now that women can come and they can access support and they will understand what their rights are. And trying to break down that stigma. But we're also doing a lot of work with professionals in Peterborough, talking about honour-based abuse, because we see a lot of clients that come to us where they are being threatened by maybe another member of the family or a family member that might be in Pakistan, or mother-in-law, saying, if you do this and this and this is what happened to you. And professionals aren't picking up on that.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, for example, the perpetrator's left, so she's safe now. But what they don't understand is that other members of the family potentially are now the threat to that woman. So we're working with the police, we're working with other professionals to understand that. Just because she might have left the perpetrator or he's gone back to Pakistan or wherever, it doesn't mean that she's safe. Because honour-based abuse isn't just about him, it's about the whole family as well. So we're trying to create awareness around that too.
Yeah. I think, there's definitely a lack of understanding when it comes to you're marrying the man, but you're also marrying the family. And with that comes, they can ruin your reputation, and they can basically, in a way, kind of end your life like that. You know, that's how twisted it is and how manipulative it is. And going back to what you said about how, as Muslim women especially, we have to create these narratives in our heads that are passed down through generations and generations, that, you know, you need to be a good daughter and you need to be a good wife, and in order to be a good daughter and wife, you have to dedicate your lives to your parents and your husband, and you can't really prioritize your life either. So with these workshop events, are you kind of also going to be sharing how to, you know, prioritize self-care for yourself?
Absolutely, because whatever religion or cultures you come from, you can't look after other people unless you look after yourself.
Yeah.
So we really want to promote that, and we want to be able to give women time to look after themselves and think about what that might look like, because it can be not only mental health but physical health as well. So the workshops will take how you can have that time to yourself. And we had a really, probably, it's kind of a good but a sad example of that, is that we had a Muslim woman come to one of our groups, and she was in her early 60s. And she said, I haven't been to anything like this before. I'm really nervous. And the only reason she was there was because her husband had gone back to Pakistan for a while.
Yeah.
So she felt able to come out of the house and leave and meet other people. But through that, and through discussions with our specialist staff and the people that do the training, she's now talking about, actually, when he does come back, I'm still going to come to this group because I really enjoy this group. And it's a group where we sit and, you know, we drink tea and we eat cake.
Yeah.
But it's a really good support for some women. And so it is about breaking down those barriers and saying, this is okay, and you need time for yourself. Yeah. And we also have a number of our trustee, Dr. Schreider, who leads the project, is an extremely successful woman. She was nominated for a UN award, Woman of the Year. Oh. And so what we want to do is to have these women from the South Asian community as role models. You know, yes, you might be a mum, yes, you might have a family to look after, but it doesn't mean that that's you. Yeah. You know, that's a part of your life, but you can be who you want to be, whether or not it's career-wise, whatever you want to do, that is an option for you. So we think having positive role models in the community is really important as well.
I'm really proud of that woman for actually coming to the event.
I know.
You know, it was such a big step for her to make. I think, like you said, you guys create a safe space and a safe environment. But I also feel like there are some women who are reluctant still to come because they feel whatever they're going to share is going to be echoed back to the community. So how do you kind of make them more sure that, you know, they're in a safe environment?
So by a couple of things, excuse me. So obviously at Peterborough Women's Aid, we have a confidentiality agreement. So when people come to our groups, when they speak to us individually, anything they share with us is confidential, unless it's something to do with children and safeguarding. Obviously, we have to act on that. But we also have the option, and again, why this project is so unique, is that we are getting a higher percentage now of women from the South Asian community coming to us and saying, we've heard about the project, we heard what you can do to support us. I really need your support because I'm in an abusive relationship. However, I don't want to be supported by a South Asian worker through fear of what might come back into the community. So we're lucky at Peterborough Women's Aid that we've got such a diverse workforce that we can say, absolutely, we can support you. You can be supported by someone who's not from the South Asian community, and you will have the exact same support. So I think that's something that's an option. You know, if that's ever going to be a barrier to someone coming forward, there are always options. We can always support somebody.
Why do you think there is that barrier with someone feeling like they can't connect with another South Asian woman?
I think it's through fear. Yeah. I think that having worked in Peterborough for a while, I think a lot of people know a lot of people. Yeah. I think there's a fear of gossip, we saw this woman going into the building. She must be a victim of abuse. What's her husband done to her? And that sets everyone off talking about it. So I do think it's pure fear. And I think to break down that fear is about, and this will take time, is about women trusting the Dahlia Project, trusting what we're doing. And we have found, which is really interesting, that to begin with, we got a lot of women that were phoning us and saying, I just want a little bit of advice. This is happening to me, but I don't want to fully engage with you. Yeah. I just want a little bit of advice for something. And so we would give them that advice. What we're now finding is a lot of those women are coming back to us because they were really happy with how we supported them. And now they're coming back and saying, actually, I took your advice and I did it, but I'm still in this relationship. I really do need your support. So I think that's a lot about building up trust in the Dahlia Project, trust in Peterborough Women's Aid, and kind of just alleviating fears.
That is already an amazing thing for them to actually want to continue to engage and feel like, you know what, they were actually heard. And there was no lack of misunderstanding or being told, you know, you're just being overdramatic and everything. So what are your kind of communication strategies when dealing with someone who is less educated on what domestic violence actually is?
Yeah, so we have a number of options. So we deliver a group called Own My Life, which is an accredited programme, and it's it's fantastic. It talks about the different types of abuse, but it also talks about the different types of perpetrators. So women are more aware of if they get into a new relationship, what to look for. And we know that the signs potentially of a perpetrator of abuse is somebody that will enter into a relationship extremely quickly, want to move in with that person extremely quickly, and then possibly start isolating from friends and family. Those are the 3 red flags. So we talk to women about understanding those. Yeah. But that programme also looks at what it is to be a woman. It looks at society. Why do men abuse women? 95% of abuse is male on female women. And it looks at what role does society play in this? What are our young people listening to? For example, what is pop music saying about the role of women? That is so important and so prevalent. When you look on TikTok or you look on Instagram, what are you seeing? What are people talking about when it comes to women? And a lot of the time they're talking about, in pop music, they're talking about calling women, which I can't say on the radio, but, not very nice words, sexualised words. You look on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, again, women are being sexualised. And so this programme really unpicks why does the society, in a way, support men having power and women not, and how you can get that power back. So skills to increase self-esteem, skills to increase confidence. We look at being assertive. And actually, how does that look? What is being assertive? You can be assertive without being aggressive. You can say how you feel, and we actually, physically practice. What would you do in that in that situation? How would you talk to that person? How would you be assertive? So, the programme just really raises awareness about domestic abuse. It raises awareness about what is a perpetrator, why does abuse happen. And the feedback that we get from the women that have been through this programme is, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know what to look for in a perpetrator. I didn't know how influential society is to, in a way, promote abuse. I didn't know that I was being abused at some points. What you've said to me is, when he didn't give me any money for months,
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
2020 World Buffet is inspired by the best foods from around the world. See our teppanyaki chefs grill your food to order, or choose delicious Indian, Italian, Chinese, Mexican dishes and British favourites, all halal. 2020 World Buffet offers you unlimited food at a set price. Open 7 days for lunch and dinner. Catering, wedding and party services available too. Call 01733 566 320 or visit 2020buffet.co.uk. 2020 World Buffet, 35 New Road, Peterborough, PE1 1FJ.
Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our location at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
For the top pizza in Peterborough, visit Top's Pizza. Established in 1988 for delicious pizzas with freshly made dough daily. View the extensive and mouth-watering menu online at topspizza.co.uk. Then choose from traditional tasty toppings, something different, or create your own with fresh 100% halal meats, salads, veg, and a great choice of sides too. Call into Top's Pizza, 52 Broadway, PE1 1SB. Call 01733 913 775 or order online for delivery or collection.
Are you a savvy shopper searching for the best food deals? Look no further. Adams Cash and Carry can help you save big. We're not just a food wholesaler for takeaways and restaurants. We also welcome household customers at our warehouse in Westwood, Peterborough. Visit our website and enjoy wholesale prices on everything from drinks to flour, rice to burgers, and much more. To shop, go online and collect in store. Visit adamscashandcarry.co.uk today to start your savings spree.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh queen cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakeinn.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Whether you visit the Berry Furniture Showroom at 78B Fengate in Peterborough or view and buy online, you'll be amazed at the quality and style you could enjoy in your home. With beds from just £299 and complete 3-2-1 sofa sets from less than £1,000, you'll also be amazed at their wholesale prices too. Plus, there's a 1-year free warranty on sofas and beds, subject to conditions. Find out more, click on Berry, that's BERRE furniture.co.uk or call 01733 300 517.
Peterborough. Who said good quality fried and grilled chicken has to be expensive? At Sam's, we take pride in every piece of chicken that leaves our kitchen. Just one bite of our chicken or burgers is all it takes to realise we are the best. Visit us at our brand new place at 333 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PF. Or order a delivery through Just Eat, Uber or Deliveroo. Sam's, the home of great tasting chicken for over 30 years.
This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Bite into something wonderfully tasty at Big Mouth, 349 Lincoln Road in Peterborough. Eating in for takeaway or delivery. Big Mouth now have a delicious new menu full of all your favourites. Crispy fried chicken, juicy smashed burgers, finger-licking peri-peri chicken, handmade pizzas, quality doner meat and so much more. So visit the family-friendly Big Mouth restaurant for fantastically fresh food. Call 01733 201020 or visit getbigmouthonline.com.
Attention foodies! Discover a world of flavours at Pack Foods, the largest ethnic supermarket in Peterborough. Shop our vast selection of authentic ingredients from around the globe, including spices, marinated fish and meats, and exotic fruits at incredibly low prices. And the best part? We offer free parking. No more hunting for a spot. Come visit us today and explore the incredible range of flavours at Pack Foods, 232 Lincoln Road.
Assalamu alaikum, you are tuning into Her Chronicles. So before the break, we were actually talking about how, Amanda, you guys have been doing your research around social media especially, and how the portrayal of women and, you know, how women are spoken about and how they're degraded on there. And as someone who does use social media quite often, seeing this puts me off social media at all, and it kind of makes me question how detrimental this must be for boys to watch this and think this is okay, especially, you know, when you have your YouTube challenges like Sidemen, where they're rating all these women out of 10 and it's meant to be jokes and, you know, a laugh. Yeah. So just how detrimental is social media to, yeah.
I think social media can be great. Don't get me wrong, because, you know, since Peterborough Women's Aid went on Facebook, we have been inundated with followers. I think at one time we posted about our new women's centre and we had 220,000 views.
Wow.
So, you know, social media can be absolutely great, but I think especially with teenage boys, teenage girls, the kind of things that they're watching promotes women, and it seems to be all the time that they're being promoted, you know, sexually, or they're being talked about in terms of what they look like or their weight, or and then we look at girls that are looking at social media and they're trying to look like, you know, that person.
Yeah.
I want to be skinny, I want to have amazing hair and amazing makeup. And, you know, people, that's not achievable if it's not real life. But what was quite worrying for me, because I'll talk about it in a minute, we've got a new project working with children and young people, but what was quite worrying for me when I was preparing for this project was that there was a survey done of girls from the age of 13 to 16, and 50% of them said that if I cheated on my boyfriend would have a right to hit me. Now, when I read that, you've got a face of shock. I've got a face of shock that girls were actually thinking that was okay, that if I've cheated, then they have a right to physically attack me because I've done something wrong. So that's kind of where we are, and I think social media plays a huge part in that. And then we look at kind of the use of mobile phones generally, and how there's an increase in young girls being asked to take inappropriate photos of themselves and send them, and then they're being shared, that type of thing. And to be honest, it's not just girls, this is happening to boys as well. But the law has changed with that. So sharing an indecent image is illegal, but actually just threatening to share an indecent image now is illegal. So you can be charged with that offence. But I think, the more we unpick social media, the more we unpick the music that boys and girls listen to, just some of the words. I went in and did some work in a secondary school, and I spoke the words to some songs, and I said to the teenagers there, kind of name that song.
Yeah.
And they couldn't name that song until I played it, and they all knew it. And one of them was an Eminem song, which was actually talked about killing his girlfriend because she cheated on him.
Yeah.
And the words were awful, but everyone knew it. Everyone was singing it. Everyone thought it was okay. But when I read it verbatim, just words, they were shocked. But when they heard the song, it was fine.
Yeah, they can remember it lyric by lyric.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So I think the role of social media, and this is why we've launched our new programme at Peterborough Women's Aid. So the new programme is called Escape, and it's supporting children and protecting through education. So we are going into primary schools, and we're working with young children, 4 to 11 years old, delivering the Healing Together programme. And this is for children who have experienced domestic abuse. And it's about working through their trauma. So a lot of young people that have experienced domestic abuse, they will have real problems with controlling their own emotions and expressing their own emotions, because they might have not ever been able to do that, or the only emotion they've ever seen is anger.
Yeah.
So the Healing Together programme will help, we hope, in primary schools. We're then going into secondary schools and delivering the day programme. And the day programme is really about what we've just talked about. It's looking at the roles of young boys and girls in society. It's looking at the role that social media plays. We do listen to, we look at TV programmes, and we really unpick the roles of boys and girls. What's right, what's wrong, what's a healthy relationship? And the beauty of this programme is we're not telling. What we want to do is create dialogue. We want to have discussions. We want girls to say, well, I don't think that's right. We want boys to say, well, no, I do. And then we want to be able to have these open discussions so we can challenge.
Yeah.
You know, children, young people need to be able to challenge each other and say, actually, when you ask me to send you an inappropriate picture, that's not right. And I know that's illegal. I'm going to do something about it. So it's about education and being able to challenge what society is telling us.
Yeah. There's so much normalised toxic behaviour, specifically in men, when it has to be, you have to be quite masculine. You know, don't tell any, you just do whatever you feel like you want to do, and you treat women however you view them, really, and there's no repercussions, and you're not told otherwise. I think it's so important that this message is shared, specifically in secondary schools, because I know when I was in secondary school, I knew nothing about what it's like to be in a healthy relationship, what the red flags are. So do you think it's really beneficial to have this in place?
Definitely. I think, I was the same. There wasn't anything out there. What does a healthy relationship look like?
Yeah.
And if you come from a family where there are no healthy relationships, so grown up witnessing abuse, or growing up witnessing controlling and coercive behaviour, you're not going to know anything else. You're going to think that is a relationship, that dad tells mum what to do and mum does what dad says. And then as you get older, the girl potentially is going to fit into that mould. She's going to think, well, this is my role because that's what I saw my mum do. And the same for the boy. I tell women what to do. This is what my dad did. And this is how a relationship works. And it's not until there's more education around healthy relationships, around equal relationships, and what is an equal relationship, being able to communicate, a lot of young people don't talk. They just text. They text or they type. You know, when was the last time you actually sat and had a conversation with your girlfriend about your relationship?
Yeah.
Not many young people do, because it's all over text. You know, so it's about educating young people to be able to talk about their feelings, about their relationships, understanding what an equal relationship looks like. And yes, men and women have roles in society. That's a fact. Women give birth. You know, we can't change that, can we?
Yeah.
But it's about, okay, how can these roles be more equal? And how can you be happy in your roles? You know, in my house, my husband takes out the bins and mows the lawn. I'm happy with that. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. And then I have certain jobs around the house, but that's fine, because that is our relationship. But when it gets to that point of, if you don't do that, there's a consequence, that's when the relationship turns into an abusive one.
Yeah. I think culturally as well, in the South Asian community, women are kind of told to continue these traditional roles in the house. So, you know, be a housewife maybe, and your main job is to take care of the kids, make sure the house is clean, make sure dinner's ready for when I get back home. So in a way, it's kind of like we have to try and break down these roles and try and get that narratives out of our mind. But it's a lot more harder.
It's so much harder, isn't it? Because obviously, being a white British woman, there's always expectations being a mum, you know, that you look after the kids and all of this stuff. But I think the thing is, there's so many more opportunities for white British women than there is for South Asian women. If you look at Peterborough Council, for example, it doesn't reflect the demographic of Peterborough and the lack of women as well. If you look at, you know, we've had recently in the news, haven't we, the equability, sorry, I can't say that word, between men's and women's salaries. And, you know, men get paid more for doing the same job. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then when you look at women that are from the South Asian community, the level of expectation is unreal compared to, for example, for me as a white British mum, there's an expectation that I'm a mum and I look after my kids and I have a career if I want to have a career, but there's no pressure on me to do that. You look at a Muslim mum, the expectations are massive. You know, you must look after the children, meals must be on the table, the house is yours to sort out, do everything with.
Yeah.
And then you're then trying to break out, it feels, actually, I want a career, I want time to myself, I want to find who I am. I don't just want to be this person that is at home doing everything that's been traditionally done. And you're right, it must be so hard because of all the expectation.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressures, socially and just kind of mentally as well. You know, it's almost like you're juggling so many things. You're juggling family life, you're juggling trying to look after your own parents as well, because you feel like you owe it to them because of that kind of emotional blackmail as well. But then it's also like your religion, you know, you're meant to be prioritizing your religion. And like you said before, you know, we were kind of, as women, were kind of told, you know, well, in the Quran it says you have to be an amazing wife and you have to take care of your husband. And of course, yeah, that is true, but they take it to the extreme where it's you almost like you have to give your life to your husband, but, you know, and you have to give your body as well when your body is not even your own, it belongs to God. That's what we believe in Islam. So when you're kind of bringing in religion, how do you kind of make it more, you know, kind of, because it is a sensitive topic, how do you kind of address religion?
It's a really sensitive topic, and obviously not being a Muslim myself, it's tricky for me to talk about it and have any level of understanding. But and this is why we're running our workshops, is that we have women who are educated, are able to look at how religion might influence women's behaviours, and how the beliefs around Islam maybe can be misinterpreted for the gain of the male in the relationship, and how actually you can interpret this in the way that makes your life better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, is that it's trying to make people's lives better. It's not about saying you shouldn't look after mum and dad, you shouldn't do this and that. It's about, but like you said, what about you?
Yeah.
This is your life too, and how can we make it better, but at the same time take into account the most important thing in your life, which is your religion. And I think that's the work that we need to do, and I think it's going to take time.
Yeah, it's a long journey, and I think taking the first step, like you said, people who call in and just want to gain a better perspective, professional help, you're taking the first step to recovery. But are there any successful stories from individuals who have come to Women's Aid?
We've had a lot of successful stories. And I wanted just when you were just saying about that point when people ring in, what we always do is that we always believe someone, and we find, well, actually, stats show that a woman will have reported or mentioned her abusive relationship up to 10 times to friends, family and professionals before someone helps her.
Wow.
Yeah. So she might have been to the doctors, said something. She might have been to the school and said something. So yeah, up to 10 times before someone actually says, we can help you. And I think it's because people are scared. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that's something I wanted to say, is that we always, when a woman calls up in need, whatever need she's in, we always believe her, and we always say, okay, what would you like us to do for you? If it's a case of, actually, I just want to ring you once a week and chat about what's happening to me, that's fine. Or if it's, I need to get out now and I need to go to a refuge, fine, we can do that too. But in terms of success stories, we have had, we've had loads. I'm just trying to think of one. So we had a lady who had no recourse to public funds. So we see the women that have no recourse to public funds as some of the most vulnerable women in Peterborough once they've left a relationship, because they have nothing, especially if you are a woman with no children. Because if you have no recourse to public funds but you have children, social services can support you. But if you are a single woman with no recourse to public funds, the likelihood is that no one will help you. Housing won't help you. The council won't help you. You're not entitled to any benefits. So the most vulnerable women, and this is why a lot of women don't need. But we had one woman who we'd been talking to for quite some time, and she was from Pakistan and she was here on a spousal visa, and she had come into the UK with her husband, and she had been subject to physical abuse, but she was more suffering with the isolation. So in terms of, she wasn't allowed to go out and see people. She had very, very limited English.
Yeah.
So he kept her kind of inside. He also had another house and another relationship. So, and our client was having to go to this house and do all the chores and everything in that house too. So, and if she didn't do everything as she did, as she was asked to, then he would physically attack her. So she had been over in the UK probably for a couple of years, knew nothing, to the point of she didn't even know where Peterborough was on a map of the UK. She had kind of no idea where she was. Like I say, very, very limited English. And she, this was a referral that came through one of our community partners who had been talking to somebody who kind of half knew this lady and said she was concerned, and managed to bring this lady to a group in the community. And immediately the person that ran this group, with her consent, phoned us and said, we're really concerned, she's in a lot of danger, but she doesn't want to leave because she has absolutely nothing. She doesn't even know where she's in the UK. She has no money. She completely relies on this guy, completely. So we spoke to her, and again, it was a slow process, because it's not a case of, right, you can leave, we'll help you, off you go. We have to make sure that the woman is safe, but we also have to make sure that this is exactly what she wants to do. And a lot of people say to us, well, why on earth wouldn't a woman in this situation just leave the relationship? And there are so many reasons why women don't leave an abusive relationship. And the main one is because he said he will kill her if she does. Yeah. So that's the main one. And we know actually when a woman does leave an abusive relationship, her risk of being killed goes up by 70%. That is the point where he might actually do it. So we spent some time with this woman, and eventually she said, yes, I want to leave. But she couldn't go to a refuge because you need public funding. So we supported her into safe accommodation, which was part of the Dahlia project we paid for. Because no one else was going to do anything. Yeah. And this is what the project is all about. It's about supporting these women when no one else is going to do anything. This woman, if she left, would have just been on the streets. So she would have gone back. So we supported her into safe accommodation. She was in this safe accommodation for 2 weeks. And while she was there, we applied for a domestic abuse violence concession through the Home Office, which basically means if you've been subject to abuse and you're on a spousal visa and your abuser is a UK citizen, the Home Office will give you public funding. But that takes 5 to 10 days, so there's always this big gap. So we supported her, and then we got her some public funding, and she went into a refuge. And this was probably about 3 months ago, and we still hear from her, because she built up such a positive, trusting relationship with our support worker, who obviously spoke the same language, that she still now, even though she's way out of Peterborough in a refuge, she still phones our support worker just to kind of update, check in. But for us, that was a real success for her, and that was the first single woman in the Dahlia project with no recourse to public funding that we have been able to get out, pay for, and then move her on somewhere where we know she's going to be 100% safe.
I mean, that is just such an incredible story for that woman who, he allowed her to completely be reliable on him. She had no independence, nor was she trapped in a house. So she didn't even get to experience life or even know where she was. Yeah. So for her to just be able to say, no, this isn't okay and this isn't normal, maybe she thought that, some parts of this were normal and that's what men behave like. But for her to actually accept that she does no longer want to be in this toxic relationship and get the help she deserves and needs, and how you guys made her feel safe and be able to rely on you and not feel like she's going to be dismissed because maybe of the language barrier. So having that set in place, does it feel like a lot of women can be able to speak to you given the language barrier as well?
So the language barrier was is so important that women can communicate with us in their language, because we know, and we see it now even when we've had to use an interpreter, it gets lost in translation so much. And the true meaning of this woman's experiences aren't coming through. So to be able to communicate in the same language, it's just so vitally important, and has really, again, like made the Dahlia Project what it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for putting all your hard work and actually hearing unheard stories about the South Asian community and creating the Dahlia Project. I think it's an incredible project that is saving a lot of women's lives and also educating them when they've never had that education before. But thank you so much for coming on to the show, and thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your week, inshallah. And please do attend these workshop events. When will they be?
If you check out our Facebook page, everything we do is on there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this.